Okay, so this is a quick story about a single moment in my life that's changed me completely. It's actually one of the more significant things that has put me on the trajectory of life that I'm living in today. So it's 2007, and I'm entering an elevator, and I press the third floor because that's where I live. And while it's going up, I'm reflecting on how well things are going in my life. I mean, just finishing up college, getting into real estate investing, things are just moving and shaking with church, with the busyness of life, and everything's going great. Yeah, but as I'm coming up to my floor, my stomach is starting to hurt, right? Because there's always a catch. There's always a catch, and my catch lived also on the third floor outside of the elevator door. So as soon as the doors open, I have my head and my eyes to the ground, and I shuffle my way to my room. I close the room, and boom, I'm safe. Like, no problem. They didn't get me. And I guess one of the things to understand about my life at this stage is how selfish I was. I mean, everything I did was about me. And what's interesting is the place that I lived required selflessness. I mean, I had to give. I was living in a facility with young men that age out of foster care. And so they moved into this facility as a way to figure out how to be independent in their lives, and how to, just essentially pick up the pieces. And I was one of the resident advisors for these young men, but I spent little to no time there at all, right? I had my mind set. I'm going to do real estate. I'm going to, finish up the things that I'm doing in life, and everything will be fine. But, I'm standing on the other side of that door, and a couple thoughts occur to me. One is I'm completely selfish and ridiculous, right? I guess that's two thoughts. I'm selfish and ridiculous. But the other thought is, dude, I am hungry and I got to make my way back through that lobby to our shared kitchen to try to get something to eat. So I tell myself, okay, I'm going to fix this. I'm going out there, and if there's any of the boys out there, I'm going to say, what's up? You good? I'm gonna go get my food, as like a baby step for me to start opening up and really, helping these guys out. So I did it. I opened the door, and surprisingly, there was no one out there. I mean, it's like 11 p.m. And surprisingly, nobody's out there. It's just one guy that's out there. So I walk up to him, but this kid was like melted into the couch. I mean, his head was practically in between his knees, just completely low, completely sad and broken. And so I'm like, yeah, I know I'm gonna say. But it came out differently. Instead of, hey, bro, you good? It was like, yeah, bro, are you good, man? and he looks up at me, and he didn't answer my question, but he actually asked me, Eddie, do you like me? And in that moment, I knew where that was coming from, because I watched this young man move into our space 2 weeks ago. And inside of that 2 weeks, he built all of these relationships and sabotaged each one. He would go out and buy stuff for one of the young men there, and then all of a sudden turn around and gossip and stab them in the back. And little by little, I watched this young man, his name is Clayton. I watched Clay build and destroy relationships, all within a 2-week space, to the point where I'm understanding that question, do you like me, is coming from a place of, I have nothing else. So me and my selfish, self-serving thoughts said, hey, yeah, bro, everybody likes you. You're cool. All right, I got to go to the kitchen. And I went to the kitchen. I grabbed my stuff. I'm making my way back to my room. But of course, this time, expecting to see him, he's not there. I noticed he went to his room, and the doors cracked open. And obviously, I knew I couldn't leave it like that, right? I had to go in and check in on him, and I did that. I went in and walked into this room that was completely dark. Everything was turned off, and he's sitting in the side of his bed. And I'm checking in. bro, you good? And we engage in this series of conversations and thoughts. And here's a couple things that I learned in that time. I learned that Clay was suicidal that night. He was thinking, what's the point? Why do I keep trying if everything I do blows up in my face? If every effort I make, I turn it around and ruin it. Eddie, like, what's the point? Tell me. And he's asking me the questions of life. What's the meaning? What's the purpose? What do I do? And I, on the other side, am desperately throwing out everything I have. Guys, I'm pulling out scriptures. I'm dusting off, anecdotes and quotes. I'm thinking of everything I got to give this young man something to hold on to instead of falling into the pit that he's clearly falling into. And I spent, before I knew it, I spent 2.5 hours in that room with Clay that night, sitting with him in his darkness, sitting in silence at times, but just being there, being in that dark, deep place. And you know what? I gave him my best. I gave him everything I had. At a certain point, I picked myself up and I made my way back to my room. And this time is well after 1 a.m. And I left my food. It's like I was so deeply disturbed by my inability to reach out to him and find him and pull him out of this pit that I sat in my room. I sat in my room and just thought. 30 minutes later, Clay's roommate walked into the room and found him having a seizure on the bathroom floor because he swallowed every pill in that room that he was able to get his hands on. He didn't die that night. We got him to the hospital. We got him the help he needed, the counselors he needed, the community. We all understood him and saw him for what was really happening. And we began to build a life around him. Today, or at least the last time I touched base with him, he had 3 beautiful daughters, a wife. But here's the thing, Clay's difficulty didn't come from that moment with me and him in his room. It came from a history of letdowns, right? And the truth is, even after he picked things back up, that history was his. And what I had to realize is that I had to offer more than my in-the-moment responses. I had to build a history of caring, a history of learning, a history of trying. And because of that, I became a licensed therapist. I began to build structures and ways for families to have life and not be bullied or beat down by their situation. That moment changed my life. And I'm going to continue to build a history of helping.